This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's Thursday, July 10th, 2025, and it is 5:03 p.m. And our first order of business is a call to order by roll call. Mary Hartman,
Here.
Rich Feely,
Aye.
Matt Johnson,
Present.
Keith Bergman, present. I do not see Mike Lawson or Linda Escobedo or Carrie LaFleur. So we will proceed with 4 out of 7. And I should also mention that we will have Shelley Gehring from the Mass Housing Partnership join us at 5:45. She's earlier in the agenda, but won't be able to be here until then. So we'll discuss other business in the meantime. Our next order of business is approval of minutes, and we have it set from June 10th. And is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes of June 10th
Second.
as written.
Motion by Matt, second by Rich. Let's do a roll call vote. Mary,
Yes.
Rich,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and Keith. Aye. So those are approved 4-0. Thank you. And since those were the June 10th meeting minutes, I just add to this portion of the meeting to say that a couple of the votes that we took, one was to submit our fiscal 25 year-end report to the select board. That was done. Another was to submit a request relative to the deaconess contribution, which was also done, and that matter is now the former is or the latter rather is scheduled for the select board's meeting this Monday night. There's a 7:10 p.m. agenda item on to discuss New England Deaconess monetary contribution for affordable housing for seniors. And I should also note on the matter of our finances, we are starting fiscal year 2026 thanks to the $740,000 that we're getting in CPA funds approved by the June town meeting. Our trust fund balance, uncommitted balance, begins at $2,822,937. So thanks to the town of Concord and our supporters for those continuing funds for us to do our work. Next item is the Mass Housing Partnership, but we will come back to that. I will say that our MHP ad hoc committee had a meeting at 11 o'clock this morning with Shelley Gehring. I sent out an email at 1:35 this afternoon, which quickly updated everyone on what happened at that meeting, including how pleased we were with the revised proposal from Liz Rust for 91B Main Street, which we'll talk about next. Okay, very good. So there we are, housing production plan updates. And we had an initial discussion on our June 10th meeting. A little sticker shock about what the cost for an initial proposal for 91B Main Street would be, and invited a list of alternatives to what we might spend our ARPA funds on. And the very first alternative, and Liz can go through the 4 that she's had, the very first alternative was to redo the proposal for 4 units at 91B Main Street, that surplus state property. And, that comes down with a lower per unit local subsidy, which was very well received. So I'll thank Liz for that work and invite you to just go through the information you put together for this agenda item. And thanks, Liz.
Sure.
Oh, and let me also, I'll welcome Linda Escobedo to the meeting. It is 5:08. Thank you, Linda.
Keith, could you put Liz's table, summary table up?
Yeah, do you have yours handy, Liz? I think I have it. I have mine somewhere. Hold on.
I do.
You want to share your screen or shall I share mine?
Sure, I can share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, is that it? Is that it?
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Okay. So, okay, so there's a few parts to this handout. Maybe I can make it a little bit bigger. So, yeah,
Please.
yeah.
Yeah, are we gonna go through the whole thing or just the 91B section?
Well, whatever your preference is.
What do you want to do? What do
I
you-
was intrigued by the discussion of the Stowe Street units. I don't fully understand what's being proposed, but I would like to hear more.
Good.
Okay, so let me just go through quickly. There were four discussion items. One was the 91 B Main Street, which we'll come back to. And then the CHDC buy down. We've talked about this a number of times in the past, so this really just brings that forward and presents it a little bit differently. I think one of the benefits here for the CHDC buy down is the funds are relatively available and could really be accomplished in the time frame. I think one of the big issues with the ARPA funds is the time frame to expend the money, by the date. So I'm not sure what exactly would be needed for the 91B Main Street, but the only thing that could really happen by the date, I think, is to really purchase the property, and everything else would be in process in terms of that, but which might not be sufficient, might be sufficient, don't know.
Well, let's, since we're talking about item one on your four items, let's at least say this much. That if for 91B Main Street, the numbers that are crunched are for acquisition and development of four affordable, of four ownership units, I mean to say, at 120% of AMI. And we're doing that so that if we would be able to use the $500,000 in ARPA funds towards that project. And those funds are to be used for 120% of AMI. They must be expended by December 31st, rather, 2026. And I think that the standard, be happy to have someone contradict me, but I think the standard of giving the state that the money to buy that property and closing on the property and having it be acquired by before December 31, 2026. The cost is 620. The hard cost is 620 for the purchase of it. There are the soft costs of another $75,000, which would come out of it. But the purchase price of 620 would include the $500,000 in town ARPA funds. That if we have a closing with the state, it's acquired. The funds will be acquired. We would need to make the determination, though, when we get to that discussion. Just recall that a year ago, it was it was on July 16th, 2024, the trust had voted at CHDC's request to invite CHDC to apply for funding for this project. At that time, it was for money for a feasibility study. It's my understanding that CHDC never submitted an application to us for the funding. They were able to find another source of funding, the town, that being the town itself. But we're on record as supporting the having invited CHDC to support this development of this project. So the question would be: is CHDC still interested in acquiring this property? Because the idea was that the trust could fund it. We can be the funding source, but the trust would not be the entity that actually takes ownership of the property.
Can I comment? Would you?
Please.
I think the CHDC, as the conversations occurred, so they did spend the money the town offered to pay for the feasibility that was done. They closed up that portion of the project and left it with the town, that they would want to be asked to do the project by the town and the parties before considering that offer. And they don't feel that they've been asked to participate and that it would be a town. So this is presented as a town project. So I think that some conversation could be had with CHDC of we would like you to do this project, and then maybe things would proceed. But they don't feel that it's their project.
We invited them a year ago. We can invite them again today if our initial invitation didn't take.
Well, I think the invitation a year ago was for the feasibility, and so that was understood.
Right.
And so they finished that portion of the project. So in terms of the actual development, I think that, you and the town could talk to them about how to proceed, but they're not.
Right.
Going back
I
to.
think
Okay.
I think on this point in particular, I know that there were discussions that the town and CHDC had with others that did not include the trust. And so, and we've just not been a part of those discussions in the past. So I'm all in favor of discussions between the town and the trust and the CHDC and the state, whomever, to be able to map out what the next steps are here. Because the trust was excluded from those after our vote of a year ago.
Who is the town when we list those parties? Who, it's the trust, the CHDC, the state, who's representing the town? The town, is it?
It's the planning
Is that
department.
Lisa? Is that
Yeah.
Lisa?
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
okay, thanks.
So I think that's clearly, like, if there's interest in pursuing this acquisition, of course, that's what would need to happen. Like, who would actually purchase it? How would that be?
Right.
Would a town meeting be required? What are the parties? How does that actually occur with the parties? The CHDC is not part of the town. Could they purchase it directly from DCAM and what have you? And how would that actually work? So there's a lot, even though it feels like it's quick to,
Right.
15 months should be able to purchase it. I think that the
Right.
logistics are substantial in terms of the town process and the town decision to go forward, even though the monies would be just for the acquisition. What would be needed? These are very rough construction kinds of numbers. So, what is actually needed for the decision to go forward? And then what does the go forward look like with the state itself? There's a lot of paperwork there and process. So I think that it would take some time to accomplish this by the expenditure deadline, in my opinion.
18. Sorry.
All right, so, well, then let's start talking about the other three options then.
So, but it is, so the difference in numbers, just to finish this, right, while we're on this, is only to reduce the size of the units. That's the only thing that changed with getting the number down to this lower number. It went from 1,600 square feet per unit down to 1,200. So
Before we leave, wait, are we leaving this topic altogether or are
I
we?
think we might as well finish this topic while we're
Yeah,
here.
I
We've
think we
delved
should-
into it so much.
Yeah, yeah, it was the first on the list, so I don't know whether we want to go right to the figures or we want to come back to it or.
Go ahead, ask whatever questions.
Yeah, let's
you-
stay-
but-
yeah,
So,
let's- let's stay here.
Rich has a question and Matt has a question as well.
Well, it's not so much a question, but just a statement. To quote the poem, I feel time's winged chariot hurrying near here. But I also see that when I look at everything that's out there, we're a long ways from any other major project other than the 40Bs if they happen. And so, this $500,000 is sort of lying on the ground there. I think we should, pull out all the stops and let's buy this property. And, obviously through CHTC, but CHTC is hopefully through the worst of their work with the development of Assabet now that it's in the hands of Habitat. I would like to vote today to select this as the option going forward, since it's the only one where we can really use the ARPA funds. I mean,
Well, I think that what I've tried to
anything
outline
new.
here is that CHDC buy down program is another option that would deliver units in the time frame also.
but not
Would
as
that be
many.
the same thing? But that was the purpose here of outlining that as another option.
Okay.
So my question here is that bottom line down there, the total town contribution, that includes ARPA, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the total town contribution is actually 500,000 less than that because
Yes.
this
No, it's
is
not.
federal
No,
money.
no,
Yes, it is.
no, those town funds have been given to the trust.
Right. So really the
But-
town's out-of-pocket investment to get these units is, only about 200,000 each, given this. Which is a much more doable, number relative to other kinds of, ownership potential that we have for generating new housing. That said, I know I was one of the people banging the drum to reduce the square footage last time, but given that we have a 9-bedroom rather than 8-bedroom yield out of that site, I would suggest upsizing by 200 square feet for that 4th unit, make it a 3-bedroom. And so that would increase the cost by about 80,000, but I'm just saying, and then that would, I just think that would be a refinement that would be helpful here. 3 2-bedroom units, 1 3-bedroom unit.
I think that was the idea in terms of bedroom count, but it was still 1,200 square feet for that third bedroom
Yeah, that's
unit.
tight.
It
I
is
mean,
tight.
tighter.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, yeah. Okay. I mean, I know that that's a decision a little bit further down the road. I mean, the immediate decision is like, just go get the land. We don't have to decide the square footage of each unit, et cetera.
Correct.
I had a question. I compared the
I
May
have,
10th memo to the July 7th memo, and the proceeds of sale figure in the earlier memo was 1,812,000. That was for larger, for 1,600 square foot units. And the number here, that is, it was smaller, a smaller proceeds, 1,812, versus the 1,821 that is shown here for smaller units. So I didn't know if that was a typo or what.
No, that's the interest rates have changed in the meanwhile. So I went through and picked up the latest interest rates so that would be a small change to the sales prices.
And the bedroom count is what determines the sales price, not the square footage.
Right. So it wasn't the square footage, it was the change in interest rates.
Thank you.
Sure.
Keith, I have my hand up. Are you ready?
Yes, please.
Can you see it? I have a white background, so it's hard to.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see everybody again now. Thanks.
Yeah, I was originally, when I first heard about the numbers for this proposal, I was skeptical, but I've actually had a change of heart. And one of the reasons is because I'd like to start building units quicker rather than waiting for like MCI or 2229 Main to become online, because that's going to be at least a decade. And this gives us an opportunity to do something quickly. I'm also interested in doing more than one unit at a time. I'm also interested in a lower cost per unit. And I'm also interested in fulfilling a select board goal, which is to bring workforce housing into the housing stock, which we haven't accomplished yet. So I mean, my husband and I live in an 1,150 square foot condo and we're perfectly comfortable. So I think this is a reasonable size. It's a reasonable cost per unit. And we can start now and actually get 4 units. So the advantage this has for me over the buy down is that this is a 4 unit at about between 2 and 300,000 a unit. And it uses the ARPA funds and it fulfills a stated select board goal. So I like this this idea, and I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago.
So I'll just say it does spend the ARPA funds on schedule, but the actual how long it would take for people to actually move in will be some number of years.
Yeah, I think it will still be sooner than MCI or any other
Sure.
land that we have in the
Yeah.
pipeline. So, you know, I guess I'm getting impatient for, you know, what's next? What do we have next? And if we've got a 4 unit, 9 bedroom possibility at a low cost per unit that meets a select board goal, you know, I think it's checking all the boxes for me.
Thanks, Mary. I want to just make note that Mike Lawson joined the meeting. I first saw him at 5:23, so that's what I put down in the minutes. So thank you. And Linda.
Everybody.
I have a real question about whether or not the state would be able to move on this transaction by the end of December.
Yeah, it's a good question, Linda.
You know,
I
by
can't
December
stress enough-
2026.
2026, right? Well, Lisa has her hand up.
Yeah, Elisa.
So I was communicating with the state and they did express interest in selling this property to the town for the purpose. For this purpose, I shared with them the proposed site plan and they provided an appraisal, and they did indicate they would sell to the town for $620,000. I don't have any reason to believe they're not interested. I just last interacted with them a couple of months ago and they seem quite eager, to work with us on it. So I just wanted to give that input.
Yeah, I think it would be vital for us to have a meeting with the state, a meeting of all the stakeholders, which would include CHDC and the trust and the town. So that we're all of the common understanding of what doesn't need to be, I'm not asking full boards. I'm saying you can have, little meetings like the way the MCI group is able to meet regularly with DCAM outside of public view to make sure that there's communication between the town and the state. I'd like to see that here so that we all understand the next steps. Wild card, I guess, could be at one time they told us that they would need, that the state would need federal approval to sell it to us for less than market value. So, but Elisa had also reported that they are willing to, that the state is willing to sell it at the appraised value from 2 years ago. And if that's so, does there need to be some kind of written instrument to pull that off? Probably, maybe a 3 or 4 party agreement involving our local actors and the state, just so we're of a common understanding of what steps need to be followed by when in order to spend the money. Rich and then Mary.
Well, I'm wondering if it's appropriate to introduce a motion that the trust requests the interested parties, which would be CHDC, the town, the state, and the trust, to meet as soon as possible with the goal of completing a sale by the ARPA time limit. In other words, let's go on record as saying
Yeah, that's a good,
we want to get into the negotiations
Yes.
to do this, but we got to be able to do it before the money turns into a white
Yeah.
mouse. I mean, you know,
yeah, I mean, to the extent that the CHDC is waiting for an invitation, two things. First, I see Ray Andrews is on the call now. Welcome. And secondly, the trust could also vote, vote to invite CHDC to submit a funding application to us for this project, just so we're on the record as of inviting that intent. Mary?
I'm keying off on what Rich said earlier, which is we should, I think he said, pull out the stops and get this going, and especially if we're worried that we can't complete this transaction in 18 months, that I'm a little bit concerned that more meetings and more conversation delays things, and it might preclude us from doing something that we might want to do. So I'm wondering, is there some way we could expedite this rather than having, I kind of like Rich's motion idea to just get people to talk to the state and say, is it realistic? Can we close this by December 31st, 2026? And then does CHDC want to move forward and make this a reality? So I
Mary, this is Linda. If I may, you keep saying 18 months, but I thought we had to have the ARPA funds expended by the end of this year.
no, it's the 2026.
2026, December 2026.
Well, okay, something I just saw said it had to be committed by the end of December 25. So
No, it's
No, it
2020.
had to be committed by December 24, which it was, in an agreement
no,
between the
I
town and the
understand
trust.
the initial commitment. Yeah.
It has to be expended, though, by December 2026.
Okay.
I'll just say,
But
we saw with the Habitat Project and Aspet River Bluff, the amount of time it took to put together all the agreements, the parties' agreements.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that that's something that takes a little bit longer than maybe you think about.
But Liz, I don't think we have to have, all these agreements between the Concord Housing Association and a condo and Habitat and the conservation, all the parties with the conservation. It's all we really have to complete by December 31st, 2026 is to buy the land.
Well, and an agreement, just as Keith just mentioned, an agreement between all the parties first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be.
I'm just saying things take a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think a next step
I
would
think
be
you're right.
a meeting with representatives from each of the groups, not posted meetings. I do not want a room full of people. One member of the trust, one member of the CHDC, staff, and meet with the state, and to have them map out for us what the steps are that would be necessary to effect this agreement, because they control that process. So we need to know what
We
it
need
is.
to know that. We do. If we can do that quickly, I'd be
yeah.
happy.
Do you want to vote, Keith, or
Yeah, do you want a motion or what?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take a motion.
you want to use what I said, or somebody have?
Yeah,
What did you say?
yeah, I think you need to repeat it though, so that I can write it down this time.
That the trust requests that the interested parties, i.e. the state, CHDC, the town and the trust, meet as soon as possible to explore the possibility of purchasing the land before the ARPA expiration date.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Mary. Is there further discussion on that? That's a good motion. All right, so let's do a roll call vote on that. Oh, yeah, Elisa, did you have something to add?
No, I just had a question about, whether, you wanted me to help to organize that.
I want, yes, the town, I don't direct who the town does. We're just
Right.
asking that the town organize it.
Okay.
And it
Okay,
would
great.
be great if you're that person.
Yes,
If it
Well, then-
passes.
That's above my pay grade, so.
And then also if there is a person or a designee from each of the, boards, that would be helpful for me to know, to just kind of coordinate that.
I'll say the chair, and it would be the chair or the designee of the affected boards, the trust and the CHDC.
Okay,
Um,
okay, great. Thank you.
So that would be great. Thank you. That will really move us along. Thank you. Anything else we want to go over with Liz from her
Want a
other
vote?
options?
In the
We need a
motion?
vote.
On the
We need a
back burner?
vote. We need to
Oh, we
vote.
didn't take a vote. That's right. Yes, I had called for the vote and then I had a question. All right. Meanwhile, back at the roll call vote, Mary,
Yes.
Rich,
yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes,
Matt,
I,
and Keith. Aye. Did I miss anybody? Okay, 6-0. Thank you very much for that unanimous vote. Do we have any further questions, or shall we lay on the table the other suggestions that Liz put together for our discussion? Matt?
I just wanted to understand very briefly. I realize that we don't need a full discussion of it, but just very briefly, what's being proposed about the changing the deed restrictions on those Stowe units. How could someone act upon those when the expirations aren't, until later? And so is it sort of speculative? We would just opportunistically do it if it came, which doesn't sound like a good use of ARPA funds because we really want to commit them. Or is it that you could proactively go and, I don't know, pay the current owner to change their deed? I just
Yeah,
don't
so I think that
understand
you're-
what's being
you're-
proposed.
As usual, you're right on target there, Matt. You have a firm grasp of all these complicated concepts. But yes, so I was asked to include preserving restrictions that might be expiring. So I put that in there, though you're exactly correct that it's without the owner offering their unit for sale, you can't just do this, or it needs to be some kind of triggering event. So they might offer their units for sale, and then you'd be, oh, well, we have these funds. There's always important to have funds available for that, but the CHDC has those buy down funds, which they've used in the past for this kind of transaction. And then someone had asked, I don't know who it was, about approaching the owners for a, sort of a voluntary preservation kind of program, which you could do here. I think that I don't know about whether it would be successful. Some of these are expiring in not too many years, and people could just wait it out, and then they're going to get market value for the units. So that it would take something to really buy them out. You'd have to make it worth their while, and I think it would be a difficult negotiation and might not be successful. So, yeah. But,
Okay, because
yeah.
we did one of these buy downs, I believe, when I was on the select board, and it was doable. I mean, the cost was doable.
Yeah.
I wonder if the cost would still be doable under these circumstances.
Yes, to
But we
convert
would have the
from,
funds.
right, so to buy down units under the restriction, yes. And that's where I put the range of monies there, and one was done not that long ago in 2021.
Yeah, We
And-
have the funds to do that if it does come up anyway. We don't need to use the ARPA funds for that.
Nope, exactly, exactly. I was asked to put it in the memo, so I put it in just to, mostly to provide an update on the situation, as well as just to note it there.
Okay, that's useful, but I think we can now leave that aside. Yeah,
Right.
thanks.
There's also, I put in there the preservation of the moderate income older condominium units, having a special grant program for them is another option, but I don't think that it meets all the goals that Mary clearly articulated, but
Right.
just as another idea that's out there that is certainly needy, but maybe doesn't make the cut.
If we did that, is it enough to give it to CHDC, or do we have to wait until a sufficient number of units, whether at the housing authority or wherever, come up to request and then actually, work with those funds? I mean, my concern
Which
is,
particular strategy are you talking about,
I'm
Rich?
talking about the strategy of, trying to, I mean, there was one strategy in there for, I thought, more extensive support for aging affordable units.
Yes, no, it
beyond
would
the-
have to be, it would have to be a different program than exists now. Because the older units are at a higher AMI than the existing program. So the owners aren't eligible for the existing program. And the units probably need more repair. They're really quite old. So these are old, moderate income units, workforce housing units.
But my question is, could we give the money to CHDC for
Mhm.
this? And that
Sure.
meets the ARPA requirement? Or are we gonna have to wait until units A, B, and C come in, work with CHDC, do their upgrades and get paid?
Yeah, I think
Because-
it would be the latter. I think what would happen there is if you said that this was a priority, you could say, well, let's take $100,000 of the ARPA funds, give it to CHDC. They would immediately open up a program for this purpose and put a time frame on the applications from the owners saying it's a time boxed process just for these workforce, units and do it that way. And then, that would be one of the conditions, like all the work has to get done. So people would have to get right on it. And it would be a portion of the funds, as I say, tops, I would think $100,000 or something, but just to, the critical capital repairs that are needed would be assistance for those owners.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's even more speculative in meeting the deadline than negotiating with the state to buy 91B Main. I mean, I think it's a good idea, Liz.
Yep.
I see the ARPA money flying out the window, that's all.
All right, any other questions of Liz? Thank you so much. A very thoughtful read, and I'm glad it has a happy ending. So, with much work ahead. So thank you, Liz, and thank you, Elisa, for all the work that is going to be done on this with us. Thank you. Other items under the agenda item, housing production plan updates. I've listed MCI Concord and Land Use Working Group, and welcome any updates from the town. I just wanted to make note of the things that I know. I know that on the MCI project that the consultant agency of Cambridge submitted their report by June 30, and that report is posted at the website and is available. And that is one of the work products that was done with the fiscal year 2025 state monies that were available. Prospectively, by my count, there's a total of $500,000 that will be in place for fiscal 2026 planning work by MCI. Half of that was appropriated at town meeting in June, and the other half was signed into law by the governor when she approved the conference committee budget, which had a line item of $250,000 for continuing the planning. And so thanks to the town and its supporters on Beacon Hill for including that, including those funds in there so that the work can continue. Any comments at all? Yeah, Mary. Can't hear. You want to unmute?
I do. I want to say
Thank
thank you to Keith for finding that 250 in the governor's budget, because just as an aside, I used ChatGPT to go through the budget to see if anything was earmarked for MCI Concord, and I didn't find it. And and you did, Keith. So thank you. That was great. That was really
Thanks.
good.
And
It was good
for
news.
those keeping score at home, the key was to find what was in the conference committee report. And I did a search for the word Concord in a multi-hundred page document. And on page 199, there was in the very fine print, there was the $250,000 for Concord. And you wouldn't know. And then
Yeah.
the next question is, did the governor veto that line?
Right.
And and you look at the parchment of her vetoes, and if you don't see that line listed, then it wasn't vetoed. So it's hardly intuitive. And this is why that there are so many people who are fully employed by keeping their eye on Beacon Hill. So.
Well, thank you for finding
Oh,
that.
you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome. It was, and thanks to, our, it was, Mike, Barrett, who
Yep.
asked for the $250,000 in the Senate version. Both Mike and, Carmen Gentile had asked for the fiscal 25 monies to have a shelf life of 1 extra year. And those proposals were voted down and were not included in either the House or the Senate budget. But the request for new money miraculously made it into the Senate budget and did not get kicked out in the conference committee. So we have friends in high places, and
Good.
the governor didn't veto it either. So that was great to see. Land use working group is the other initiative that the first meeting was held last night. Was it last night? No, it was Tuesday night. Tuesday night. I
Yeah.
must have Wednesday off. And our next meeting will be on Tuesday, July 15th at the Kai's Road Planning Office. The first floor conference room. Will be meeting with the town facility manager. And then we'll be having meetings about twice a month and scheduling tours for starters of public safety and public works facilities and lots of moving parts there. So anything more to say about that?
Yeah,
Mary?
can I,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, Keith, I just wanted us to know, this group especially, to know that the primary goal of the land use working group is to find homes for DPW, public safety, and to consider the consolidation of town offices. And then once those recommendations are made, what opportunities for housing or open space or recreation does that unlock or may enable? So it's not a long-range strategic plan. It's not a capital plan. It really is focused on what does this committee recommend for locations for public safety, public works, and potential consolidation, and housing and the others will fall out of that. So I just wanted to set that expectation with the group. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, it is a matter of identifying what opportunities come out of this process that's looking at citing specific municipal facility needs, which could mean moving some entities from one place to another, consolidating, and those create new opportunities for the next level of analysis, which could involve affordable housing and others. So,
Exactly.
Rich?
Just a quick question for Mary. Finding a place to put DPW is one thing, getting the money is something else. once this committee has decided what ought to go where, do we have to wait for things to get funded and built, or can we move ahead on trying to do housing on the parts that are not, reserved for the town functions? You just.
Well, you'd have to, yeah, you'd have to get the money appropriated. So I think let me make sure I understand your question correctly, Rich. So let's assume we move DPW out of Kai's Road. Or that's the recommendation, but we don't have the money appropriated yet at town meeting to build a facility somewhere else. Can you move ahead with housing at Kai's Road? Is that?
No,
No.
not Cottage Road, but if you decided to put it on half of 2229 Main,
Yeah,
could we then move ahead in parallel with, say, affordable elder housing at the other site on 2229 Main, while the town is trying to finance the DPW transfer?
I would, God, that's a hard one. I don't like to do things unless we have money appropriate. I don't feel like I can count on anything until we actually have money appropriated. So I don't know. I can't
You,
answer
you,
that right
you
now.
can see what my concern is,
Yeah.
that the,
That
you
it
know,
holds up housing too long. Yeah.
right, and once, oh, here's the 15 acres for DPW. If a site has another 10 acres, yes, go ahead and try and CHTC, private developer, whatever, try and get housing there. While in parallel, you're moving ahead with trying to
Yeah.
build the DPW facility.
That's a good question. I think I'd take the temperature then.
Okay,
You
well,
know.
let me just state that as my concern. I understand
Yep.
the priority, but I just don't want to wait, for completion of the project as opposed to designation of the site.
Well, the thing that we're gonna all be waiting for is MCI and 2229 Main to be available. Like, if you read the MCI report, we've got to get Route 2 and wastewater capacity solved before we can start building there.
Yeah, but you got MCI by 28. I mean, not MCI, you got 2229 by
Well, it's
28.
last I heard is 2030, but yes, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
That's okay, thanks.
Well, I feel better about it because I know that of all of these moving parts that will ultimately have some kind of a time frame, a common time frame, where we'll see, here's how you move, here's how you can take advantage of opportunities at these various sites. A lot of the decisions are connected to one another. I think in the short run, I think we'll be ruling out potential sites
Yes,
for development as opposed to ruling any in.
good
So
point.
that's what I think we'll be up to. All right, and meanwhile, from the standpoint of housing production, we're going to keep asking how are those 240Bs coming along, and will they get built? So something that's on our radar screen. I see that Shelley Gehring is here, and thanks for coming back. Shelley was with us at 11 o'clock this morning at the ad hoc committee meeting, and I want to welcome Shelley. I'll say that I had distributed copies of the version 6 of our proposed goals. I can call them up onto the screen. But before I do that, I think I want to mention a couple of things. First, the group has decided to move ahead with the 91B Main Street, which was one of the two edits that we were making to the proposed goals or implementation strategies. The other edit that we made, which this group will be happy with, is to specifically add an item for to invest in. Let me find the page. To invest in age-restricted housing for 55-plus-year-olds. And these are in our development strategies. And it was felt that since we are, we've identified that, we've made a request to the select board that the Deaconess contributions funds be used for 55 plus. So it seemed appropriate to actually identify a strategy that called for that. And we have now looked favorably on proceeding with 4 units, 120% of AMI at 91B Main Street. So we wanted to include both of those in this document. So those are the only edits that we had made from our prior set of goals that we had discussed at our recent meeting. What we're next trying to do is to schedule some tours of, we'd identified a development in Hudson and another one in Acton that had been recommended to us, and we wanted to try to, we want to take Hudson as the first opportunity that's presented. So we're trying to see if we can get a time for those interested to have a tour. And maybe Shelley, you could talk to us what your goals or expectations are for the tours for us. So thanks. A learning experience.
Thanks. So for Hudson, it's the Packard Street Commons, and I keep calling it Homes, Packard Street Commons. And it's a brand new development by Metro West Collaborative Development, so a nonprofit that does development in your area. And so the hope is that, and I encourage this by trustees across the state to, I've done multiple of these tours across the state, trying to get trustees, affordable housing trustees on site at a development and interacting with the developer to understand what it takes to put together an affordable housing development deal and what the municipality can do to help support that, move that forward. So I've connected with Caitlin, the executive director of Metro West, and she's completely supportive, would love to offer you a tour of the site. It's a 40-unit rental development that's just come online in Hudson. It was a municipal site, so the municipality put out a request for proposals and Metro West responded and was chosen. And I've asked her to, someone on her staff to give you a tour of the grounds, the site plan, to talk a little bit about how the deal came together. I'm going to reach out to the town and ask them to give a little bit of insight into the municipal piece of any kind of pre-development work and putting together the RFP and releasing it, just so that there's some of their perspective. And then the developer will talk a little bit about putting together the plan, the site plan, and the kind of housing, that there's a building in the back that's a multiple story, and I believe it's an elevator building. Then there's some townhouses in front, but just to talk through how they came to that, to talk through the number of units and some of the funding sources. They'll talk through some of the things that the municipality did that helped them move the development forward. They'll talk a little bit about the different funding sources that they used, and so that you can get a sense of how much the local contribution leveraged in terms of state and federal resources, because it had low-income housing tax credits. Rich has asked for some of this information beforehand, and I'm going to reach out and just ask for some of that. The ad hoc group also asked to see their RFP that they released, just so you have an idea of what that looked like for this community. So we'll ask for that as well. But the 2 dates that the ad hoc committee just looked on our calendars this morning were August 13th and August 14th. And if you have the ability to pull up your calendar now and to give some feedback about those 2 days, we wanted to ask you for your availability, and also to talk about, could you make a morning time work, an afternoon, or an evening time work? So I don't know what the easiest way to do this is. Maybe
I
just
could be
to
available up till 3 p.m. on either the 13th or the 14th as things stand today.
Me
Okay,
too.
great.
Me too.
I
I'm
can
out
do
of
those.
town. I'm out of town both days.
Oh, you are.
Sorry.
I guess, so what I'll say is, so given that a couple have said they could be available on either day up to 3 p.m., is there anyone else besides Michael who just could not do either of those? Okay, so Liz has put me in touch with the developer of the Acton development, so we'll work to do that on a different day. And so hopefully Michael will be able to accommodate you on that one. But if everyone else for the most part could potentially do the 13th or the 14th, then I'm going to circle back with Metro West and try to book that so that we can get that in our calendar and have that opportunity. And then I'll follow up with the developer in Acton, and hopefully we can do a different time that would accommodate Michael as well. Matt?
Okay, I've had a MAPC Legislative Committee pop up on my calendar now for August 13th at 10 a.m. So I'm available after that. I'm available in the afternoon.
So is that
That day.
it's a meeting that's a virtual meeting with MAPC?
It's a virtual meeting. It would be over by 11:30.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to mention, we do have a Concord Housing Foundation meeting planned at noon, but this would probably supersede that, assuming that other members of the Housing Foundation could also join.
Yes.
Yeah, we decided not to have an August.
Oh, that's right. We're not having that meeting. Okay.
So the foundation's not a problem.
Okay. And then I noticed you did not mention the possibility of seeing a unit. I'm assuming that since they've moved in, that's no longer an option. But it was
So
sure
because
great.
it's
Good.
yeah, because it's newly built and newly leased up, there probably isn't a unit that's not being lived in. And because they're brand new to it, I wouldn't even ask for them to, like, sometimes developer, when we've done this, the owner will ask a tenant if they're willing to let people see their unit, because this is brand new and people are like, I don't think that we would ask that. If there happens to be a unit that hasn't been moved in yet, I think that they would make it available. And if there's community space, then we would be able to see that space as well.
Yeah.
So it'll just depend.
Okay. Because it just is
Yeah.
very instructive to see the actual
Yeah.
interiors. Yeah.
It is
Thanks.
true. It is very true. Yes. Yeah, we'll see as much as we can. Okay, so I will connect with Caitlin tomorrow to see, and hopefully we can make one of the times on one of these days work. I've told her like a 45-minute tour, so not a huge commitment on their part or on your part, but enough, I think, to be able to walk the grounds and to ask some questions and learn a bit. But just so you know, for planning yourself as well.
Very good. And
Okay.
the closer it is to lunchtime in Hudson is always a joy. So,
Because of their restaurants?
because yes, so either
You know
right
something
before
I
or
don't
right
know?
after
Really?
lunch.
Oh,
Lots of places. Hudson is happening place.
It
okay.
is.
So,
Good.
so,
Okay, I'll
right.
keep that in mind.
Okay. Anything else for us, Shelley?
Nope, that's it right now. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for all you're doing for us, and we'll continue to be in touch. All right.
Great.
Thanks, Shelley.
So Keith, I'll just let you know what Metro West says so that you can get
Yep.
it back to the group and we can get in our calendars, okay?
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, it's off topic, but one question I'd have for Metro West is how do they get? I saw that Metro West, CD, and Housing Nantucket were among a list of CDCs that got funding from the governor under a program which sounded like tax credit program, which helped with their fundraising ability. That is, an entity donates to one of those CDCs, and then they can take half of the amount as a tax write-off through a particular program. That might be worth our trying to help our local CHDC see if that's something that would be of interest to them.
Yeah, also, it was a law that MACDC pushed many years ago to help CDCs specifically in the state fundraise, and so I don't know the
Yeah.
exact parameters of how you qualify for that, but I can certainly do a little bit of research on that for you.
Okay. Very
Okay, thanks so
good.
much. Nice to
And I
see you
also,
all.
I'll just mention while Shelley's on and while
Mhm.
Rich is here, I saw that the towns, that the town of Nantucket and the towns on Martha's Vineyard are now hired the UMass, one of the UMass centers, to estimate what the market impact is on the real estate transfer fee for affordable housing. Uh, and the Donahue Center is
The
is
Donahue
doing the
Center.
work. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It's focusing in particular on the Cape and Islands, but
Mhm.
perhaps the methodology that comes out of that would be something that the other
Mm.
towns that are petitioning for a real estate transfer fee can do. It's to have more information to be able to ward off the attacks of the real estate industry. So,
Fantastic.
very good.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Nice to see you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Shelley.
Bye.
Next item I had on the agenda was an update on Assabet River Homes, which is, as we know, the closing was completed on June 5th. That we've committed, we have a grant agreement of $1 million that goes from the trust to CHDC for construction of the 3 units. And the 2 rental units already count on our subsidized housing inventory. So that's all great. Any updates to share, Liz?
Briefly, the foundations are being dug, so if you drive by, you'll see all that occurring. And the units aren't on the subsidized housing inventory yet, so we just finished 2 weeks ago all the paperwork to transfer the leases and the HAP contract and all of the pieces to the housing authority from the CHDC, which was required to get them on the SHI. So those back end pieces are done and now they can be requested.
Okay, very good. Yeah, the deed restriction, those were recorded back on, May 15th or whenever it was. So, but I know there's the paperwork that follows to have EOHLC give us a revised spreadsheet that shows what's on our subsidized housing inventory now and what's not. So very good. Look forward to that. Thank you. I'm wondering if there are any other updates from Liz or Elisa that we can talk about here. It's later in the agenda just for our deadline. I'm sorry, what we had established, the time frame, I should say, for a next Concord Housing Roundtable, and we were looking at the last week in August, and I'm wondering whether a date has been selected yet that is conducive, that works for the 5 select board members and that can be shared with the rest of us so that we can put that date on the books.
I'm sorry, I just had to step out. Was that a question for me, Keith?
No, it wasn't. It was a question to Elisa or Liz about how is planning coming for the next Concord Housing Roundtable, which we'd agreed would be held
okay,
the last
sorry.
week of August. But the first thing we typically do is to see what dates work for the select board and before finalizing. And it was going to be virtual, which is good because it's hot and it's summer. So just any update on when that is going to be would be helpful to know. We are also looking for the housing production plan informational update to be ready in time for that housing roundtable and to get and to be able to share with our roundtable partners status of both of the 40B applications and where we are with HLC certification of our subsidized housing inventory. So I'm not needing answers on those for tonight, but just
You wanna
would
just
like to
see
know what our
where-
next date is.
No, I don't think that we have started to inquire on specifics for that week, but if you're all here, what date works for you? If we look at I think the 5 o'clock timeframe seems to work. So if we
Yep.
look at
Yeah,
that
5
week,
o'clock
the
is good.
25th, what is your preference? Keith, Mary, and other people here, and then we can go from there and see see what's working. Are there
Yeah,
any
and-
dates that do not work that week?
Are you looking at the last work week in August, right?
Last week in
correct.
August, and since it's a virtual, I don't have any meetings, any 5 o'clock meetings scheduled for that last week.
We have a
So that
select board
works.
meeting on Monday night, but so far the others are open.
Okay, so, and then we want to stay away from Friday, so we have Tuesday, the
Right.
26th, 27, 28.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that'd be great to float those, and maybe if we could, I think it'd be helpful to find out which of those three works best for the 5 select board members.
Yep.
And then
Okay, so if
share
those three
the
work for
results
you all,
with the
then
rest of us.
we'll proceed.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can I just make a statement?
yes,
The liaison reports, the liaison assignments were finalized the other day, and Cameron McKenna will be the liaison to the CHDC and the Concord Housing Authority.
Great.
okay,
You're
very
going
good.
to remain,
I'm
since
sorry,
you're on the board, you are effectively the liaison for the trust, Mary.
that's right.
CHDC and CHE. All right, very good. Thanks for that update. The other thing I wanted to mention is that something we'll be talking about at the roundtable, another item will be the fiscal 27 community preservation grant application for housing, and that the deadline this year will be Friday, September 19th at noon. That was the CPC had to push the date back about a week from the one that they had originally announced. One of the strategies in our proposed goals and implementation is to seek 25% of the CPA's total annual revenues, and to request that including new reserves and new revenues and reserves until such time as the transfer fee or building permit surcharge is enacted. So, and I was able to look back. So in terms of what money might be available, the Community Preservation Committee is not meeting this month, but they had a meeting, but it was canceled. They will be meeting in August, about mid-August. Maybe we can get some clarification from them at that time. Based on the presentation that CPC made at town meeting, we saw that they have a budgeted reserve of $1,341,000. That's for undesignated funds. They also have a historic preservation reserve of $103,000 that we would not be eligible for, and open space reserve of $250,000. So we might want to consider if typically it's been about $2 million, 1.8, 1.9, $2 million a year in new money that's available for funding. We have gone after at least $500,000 of that. And we might want to consider doing that and having a discussion of how much of the of the $1.3 million in budgeted reserve funds we might want to go after as well. Rich?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, what we're seeing is that except for maybe 91B, there's not a lot of new units in the next 5 years that are going to happen. But we need, we need the money. And I'm thinking maybe we've got to have a pitch this year that doesn't say you're giving it only for this, but here's what we're planning to accomplish in the medium term. And I guess the problem with 91B is that's above, at 120, that's above the community
We could
preservation
not,
threshold.
yeah, we could not use CPA funds for
So
91.
then I think we got to look at some of the other things that Liz gave us and say, here are things we can do while we're waiting for bigger projects to percolate. And we would like the money to do that. I'm just afraid that if we just go in and ask for money for housing, they're going to say, what have we got since Assabet Bluff? That's all. So I don't know how you want to do that, but I think we ought to have a pitch.
Yeah, I
that
think it's
more than
important to,
more than that we're a deserving recipient.
I agree. We should have a coherent strategy of what the money would be used for. And if we're forecasting that we don't need any money until 10 years from now, well,
I think we know that we're going to need this money for a number of possibly large projects, and that the annual budget of the CPC is just not adequate to do that in 1 year. So we really need to build up a balance, and especially without a real estate transfer fee. I actually think undesignated funds are the most valuable in this case, and that there is a compelling argument that can be made even without a specific project in mind. I would hate to pigeonhole us with some, tactical project when there's something much more strategic coming. So I would hope to try to persuade them that no, we should commit the funds and bank them, but not necessarily designate them to an individual project, because there are about half a dozen that could break, and when they do, they're going to be big.
I don't disagree with you, that's the strategy. I'm just worried that, people are going to say, particularly if the amenities building doesn't get its bond issue. I can see a lot of people clamoring for money for something else, but I agree with you in principle, Matt.
Yeah, the CPC has been very consistent about over the years designating 25%. I mean, their track
Okay.
record equals almost exactly that over the entire time of its tenure.
Okay, if everybody.
yeah, and what our
do it
our
again.
goal is, and I think what's coming out of the work with MHP is for us to recognize that using our limited funds to leverage projects that qualify for state money is what is a thoughtful approach, rather than us paying all of the, the cost of the development, rather than doing a project that can bring with it other funding. That's why these discussions we're having with MHP and with and touring other facilities and seeing how do you put together such a project is important for us to explain why we need more money, because we will need money to, there's nothing about any of the development that would say come out of either MCI or the land use matrix process, which assumes that you get affordability out of it. We're going to have to use funds to leverage affordability out of any housing that comes from that. Mary?
Yeah, I actually agree with what Matt is saying, as long as we have something that's articulate and a plan but let me just add one complexity to it, which is the $3 million that we're hoping to get from Deaconess. So, people might remember that and they might think, well, you're getting $3 million. So just something to think about. I think we can address that, but we need to think about how to address that.
That's designated for senior housing.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Tune in Monday night.
right.
Bring all your old friends. So I don't know how big is the, I've never been in the electric department meeting room, so,
It's
It's-
substantial.
It's a good
Okay.
size. Yep, it's fine. It'll be comfortable. Yeah.
okay. Comfortable and, spacious and cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be okay. Yeah.
Very good. All right.
You'll notice that on the agenda, it's a discussion and not a vote.
Yeah, discussion, not a policy decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Rich, any update on what the LOHA is doing to prepare for September legislative hearings?
Nothing specific yet. I don't think we have a date. So really nothing at this point. Parrot isn't dead, but it's not flapping a lot.
Very good. Any public comment? Carlin Reed.
Hi, Carlin Reed, 83 Woods End, member of the Finance Committee, but speaking on my own behalf, just want to let you know that the Finance Committee has assigned its own observer liaison to this committee, and it will be Lindsay Liss. She wasn't able to join you today, but you have a videotape which she'll be reviewing later. So Lindsay Liss is your FinCom liaison. Thanks.
Could you email me that person's email address so I can
Absolutely. I'll connect the two of you. No
expand our
problem.
distribution list? Great.
will
Thank
do.
you. Thanks so much. All right, let's see, today is July rather 10th. We're looking at a roundtable that would be the last week of August. Do we want to have another trust meeting in early August to prepare for that roundtable?
The thing I'm
Or
worried
do you-
about is preparing the presentation or the request of CPA because,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you or somebody else wants to draft it, we're not gonna have much time after the end of August to put it together.
No, I'm happy to have volunteers. I mean, I have an electronic copy of the 7-page application I submitted last year and the one the year before. If someone else wants to,
Keith, you've done more than your share of the paperwork. If you want to send that to me, I'll see what I can do with it, and then we could look at it and tweak it in a meeting the end of August or
okay, very
early
good. Well, thank
September.
you.
And if you
Thank
want
you
some
for-
help, Rich, I'm happy to help with that.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I'll take one crack at it and then I'll run it by you and Keith.
Okay.
And then we can run it by the whole committee.
So could I
And so-
propose August 7th at 5 PM as the next meeting date, 4 weeks from now?
Works for me.
August 7th at 5 PM. Let's see. Thursday, August 7th.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah, I can do that
Good.
at 5 PM. All right. Does that work for
Yes.
everyone?
Our CHA board meeting is that day, so I'll scurry over.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. So that's Thursday, August 7th at 5 PM. Very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right, all those in favor of the motion, all right, well, roll call vote on the motion. Mary,
Yes, thank you.
Mike,
yes, bye, everybody.
Rich,
Aye.
Linda,
Hi.
Matt,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So we are adjourned at 6:23 PM. Thanks all very much.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Keith.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.